Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Staircase to Nowhere, Ministry and Culture podcast. My name is Noah. I'm one of your hosts. I am a youth and outreach director in Atlanta, Georgia, so that's my credentials.
I'm Sam. I'm a friend of Noah. Those are my credentials.
That is a very important role to me.
Yes, big deal. That's the only reason I'm on this show, honestly. I also do a form of outreach, but I do it in Louisville, Kentucky. And next to me is my other friend, who's not Noah, and his name is...
Yo soy David y...
Yo soy un director del residence hall.
Estamos...
How much Spanish do you know, David? Did you just... That was it?
That's
That
the
was all of
extent.
Yo tengo un poquito de español.
I was just curious how far we could get in the show. I don't know. I'm zero.
Sí,
todo. Me gustaría una conversación con mis amigos en la computadora.
Okay.
Sobre
ministerio y cultura.
Noah's is pretty good.
Yeah.
All right, David.
Sam.
Okay, Noah's
Sam.
is fine. David, no. Introduce yourself.
David.
To our English speaking audience, please. Thank you. Yes.
Je m'appelle David.
I will turn this car around. Answer the question in English.
Okay, I am David. I live in Indiana. I just had a slice of pizza. I work for a school, and my dog is needy.
So, obviously, if you're just tuning in, we have big credentials around here.
We know what we're saying.
We know what we're saying.
We bought microphones on Amazon.
True. Anyone can have a podcast. Just remember that. Conversations don't necessarily have authority. Ooh,
that's a callback.
That's a callback. Today's conversation, though, is going to have some authority as I recount to you a book that you should read for yourselves. It's called The Anxious Generation by Jonathan Haidt. It's created quite a stir, and everybody has lots of different opinions on it because it talks about childhood and parenting styles and social media and technology use for kids, and it is quite fun. I got to do a teaching on it for the parents of our church. So I'm going to share some of those things with you guys, and we're going to talk about what it looks like to raise kids in a culture of always on internet. But first, Sam is always asking, hey, do we have any emails? And so I wanted to jump into a few of our... Just a spattering of all the emails that we have.
Also, I reiterate, Noah is the only one with access to the emails. So we don't know. We could be getting more emails, and Noah could be just hiding them from us.
I've never thought of that.
I have the whole time.
That's true. I want you to think we have less emails, and I keep the best ones for myself.
I answer them to myself on my private podcast, which is called Me in the Shower.
So, email from Amish. What's up, Amish? He was highlighted in our Taylor Tour episode. When
it's Dr. Mishra to you. Thank you very much. He earned the credentials.
He is a full PhD doctor of mathematics and data science. So he knows a lot more about that stuff than we do.
That's true.
He actually has credentials, unlike the three of us.
Hey, wait a minute. He does. Maybe he should be on here. So, yes, he was featured briefly in the episode. And so he sent us an email that says, hey, tuning into your latest episode now.
Wow. I'm glad we read that one for the people.
That's deep.
And thank you, Amish, for tuning in.
These are amazing emails that we have here that you can send and contribute to this.
Just imagine the emails we don't get to hear, Sam.
Staircasepod@gmail.com. Make sure that you send us a good one. All right, this next one is from one of our biggest emailers. That's Justin G. And Justin says, hello all. I feel like I should know what the theme from the How Do You Do episode is that you're referencing, Noah, but I do not.
Oh.
How does he not know?
That's our biggest thing.
How
That's
does
our
he
one
not
defining
know?
trait.
this is like a major theme that we do like very often. Sam, are you pulling it up right now?
Yeah, I think I have the right one. Just to
Okay,
jog
how
your
do you
memory.
do? How
Just
do you
to
do
jog your
theme?
memory.
Don't you just have the button, the how do you do button? Dancing off screen. We are. Whoa! Sam just did a backflip.
How do you do? How do you do? How do you do? How do you do? Wow, wow.
That's a thick bass line.
You know what's interesting about that song is it doesn't hit as hard as it did the first time we listened to it.
We were in our flow state the first
What was
time we
going
heard
on with
that
us? Because
song.
we're like, play it again, play it again.
I mean, do we
was-
need to play it again to see?
Yeah,
No.
you know what? That's kind of the issue here.
No,
we just haven't
it's
listened to
not.
it enough times.
Executive decision. We don't need
Sam,
to play,
play
it
the
again.
track.
Executive producer Sam.
Sam,
did
what
I just
we need
become
to
the
play the track?
Did I just become the executive producer?
Yeah, can I be the
Well,
best
of course
boy?
you are.
I call
Thank you.
best boy.
But yeah, that was the theme song that we referenced that he forgot somehow. I don't
kind of-
How
understand.
do you do?
Kind of a big
You
deal.
do?
Yeah.
So Justin said he did a quick Google search for how do you do. He found Crazy Frog has a song with that title.
Oh.
Sam, were you able to find that?
I wasn't prepped. I can link it
He
in the
says
show
it
notes.
was pretty
for
good
sure.
actually, and it
Okay.
led Justin to listen to a couple more of their songs.
Oh, Justin.
Mm-hmm.
No.
This is not related to ministry at all, he says, but it is related to culture, since it got me to think back to when Axel F was popular, and it just brings a smile to my face listening to some old EDM music. I don't know, I just wanted to share this with you. I would love for you to share the song.
When the world was right, back when Alex F was big.
Do you remember Axel F? I don't.
Axel F. I'm sorry.
See?
not Alex.
Alex F sounds like someone in my class because there was also
Yeah.
an Alex B.
Do you know what EDM stands for?
Electronic dance music.
Nope. Elephants dominating the market.
Is that right?
Yeah. It's a political science term.
Oh, well, this is a political dance podcast, so we're not interested in that commentary, sir.
So just
Well-
checking, the Crazy Frog song is not happening.
It's not possible. Not at the moment. I have to download it and upload it, and it's can't do it. So
Executive
Not-
producer.
not a very good executive producer over here. But
I should have asked for this to be prepped. What was I thinking?
it's okay. We'll get it next time.
I'm just the best boy.
All right, I got one more email from Justin, and this will actually be something substantive that'll kick off our conversation today about the anxious generation. So get ready for that hard segue, okay? He says, "Hello, Noam Vid." I don't know that that really puts all our names together.
Naveed?
Noam Vid. There it is.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, I'm seeing it now.
Save time.
I'm late to the party that is season 3, but I just listened to episode 1. I have a question I would love to hear discussed on the pod. When talking about social democratized media, I appreciate the nuance I heard when hearing you guys talk about how to use it in our personal lives, but also in ministry. You guys all remember season 1, we basically said, or no, not season 1, season 3, episode 1, we said, social media is a dark alley. Everyone should just get off it. It's bad for you. Right?
Basically.
We basically
Yeah.
said that because I
Nuanced.
had just read the Anxious Generation book.
Very nuanced take.
Very nuanced. So then Justin says, some of the examples you guys gave were about people, yourselves, churches, and universities that completely pulled the plug and no longer have an online presence minus YouTube. Should we as Christians do this? Should we abandon places that post views we don't agree with next to ours? Shouldn't we expect this in a pluralistic society? It makes me think of how Christians left the film industry when it started getting big in California because of how secular it was and it didn't support biblical views. And now people complain that there's no or very few good Christian films. Well, yeah, because we left that area of influence. So yeah, that makes sense. That most of the films now support a worldly view. From what I've learned from history, when Christians disengage from the culture, it doesn't really fix anything. It often just seems like giving more ground to the enemy to spread his message. So what are your thoughts on when and where to disengage and where to stay in the dark alley, as it were, and continue to be a light in a dark place? Thanks so much, Justin.
Great
Also,
question.
he said, P.S. Sam and David, pretty please, may I have your addresses? I'm asking very nicely. I was just at Noah's this morning, so I'm all set there.
Oh yeah, absolutely. No issues. That's also a callback for our true fans. That's a great question. David, did you have any comment on sending your address to?
Yeah, Taylor University.
Yeah.
CO
Pretty
David
easy to
Neal.
find that, actually.
Come find
Yeah.
me. Yeah.
I'm
Just
the
put-
most doxed person on this.
David
true.
Neal, Taylor University. It'll get to him. It's amazing. But what do you guys think? What do you think of him saying Christians can't just disengage from culture? It doesn't work. We shouldn't just leave social media.
I'll unpack some of those things. I think the film industry is an interesting thing to point to. The first thing that comes to my mind, like in the social media conversation, is he brought up like, and he's not here to dialogue, but he mentioned like
Which he wants to be.
yeah, there we go. But like his views or our views like being next to opposing views on a platform. I think for me the impetus for like saying we actually shouldn't spend as much time on these platforms as we maybe have been is more because of like feels more like a formation question, like what engaging with these platforms does to us as people, not so much like I don't know, just study after study shows that it's like really bad for our brains and it changes the way that we view the world and ourselves, and it makes us depressed and stuff. So it's like the actual social media is this really unique thing that's like the more that we're trying to engage with it positively, I feel like the more damage it can actually do to us inwardly. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but like I think that's like that's the real tension with social media is like, even if we are on it trying to be a witness, we can't avoid the algorithms that are trying to so eagerly entangle us and pull us in and get us addicted and put just like vile things in front of our eyes and things that maybe they're not vile, but they're just like huge time wasters. So that's just like the tricky thing about like, that dark the dark alley analogy for me is like just this reminder of like, this is not like a safe place. So when we do try to engage it, we have to be really shrewd and we have to be, cautious and stuff. So yeah, those are just kind of my thoughts is like, I hear the point. Like, and maybe I'd love to talk about this, but like, walking away versus engaging. I'm just maybe putting a finer point in why social media feels so dangerous because of what it's trying to do to our minds and stuff. So those are some of my initial thoughts to the question.
I think even along with that, like if you look to Jesus, right, there were the moments where he intentionally engaged in the difficult or complexities of life. Like he didn't go escape, right? He didn't go away. He didn't hide from people. And so like, I don't think the call is to be Amish, right? And if you're Amish and listening to this, shame on you.
How?
Shame on you. Shame the Amish.
I am going to go
David
talk
Neal.
to your bishop. I'm going to go tell your bishop you're listening. Like the goal is to be not hiding away. And so it's not that we need to be afraid of social media, but that's what I loved Sam's term of being shrewd. I think that's the appropriate terminology towards things like that.
Yeah. No, Justin's totally right. We didn't put any nuance to that conversation. We just said, don't do it. Stop it. And I think it was reactionary. Like churches are devoting a lot of time and money to something that isn't necessarily forming people. And maybe they're getting like, 3 seconds with your content and 3 hours with everything else. And it's just not good for them. But then I also worry about it for like the content creator side. Like if you could just create videos and put them out there and not be so worried about the response you're getting and not so worried about the comments and not so worried about the views and not so worried about, is this going to blow up or not? Great. And then the other end of it of like not spending your time just consuming.
Yeah.
Like if usually people's social media use is like 80-90% consuming and then a little bit of content creating.
Yeah.
You know, like you're scrolling so much more than you're just like actually putting out positive in the world. So I think it's one of those scenarios where you think you're making an impact, but maybe it's impacting you more than you're impacting it.
That's good.
And if you want to be a Christian content creator, like treat it like a job that you only can log in to post stuff and you're not going to scroll. But I just can't see people doing that because they want to see what everyone else is doing. And then they start comparing themselves to all the other content creators and all the other Christian content creators. And it just, I don't think it's good for your heart.
Yeah. And I get so skeptical and weary of the idea that we can live out like our Christianity on like solely online. If the primary way that we live out our Christianity is on an online platform, like I just have a really hard time with that. Like, and I think that there's, like there, I just think about, you know, Jesus saying, take up your cross and follow me, and how, like, what would that look like if your primary identity as a Christian was like wrapped up in some online image of yourself, or wrapped up in your online presence, or how you, if you're only engaging with quote unquote Christianity or the faith on online platforms, like, or through online things, like, I just don't think you're really engaging with it. And I don't know, like, that's that's really hard. Cause for me, like, you know, living out our faith turns into very practical things. Like it's like helping your neighbors move. It's staying up late to have those conversations with people who need counseling and care. Like there's like physical things that it take, like being a Christian takes a toll on our body as we like serve people, serve the world, and follow Jesus. And if I can like sit at my laptop and be a Christian, I just think we're missing that. And I don't know. I think like the missional component of it, I'm like I want to encourage people to like go reach people in real life. Like don't buy like the lie that people have to be reached on social media, or like can only be reached on social media. Like that's where corporations are trying to reach people. Like that's where like, you know, like spend your time trying to get into the actual real life relationships with the people that you're trying to reach. Cause I don't know, like I have a lot of half-baked thoughts about that, I guess, but I just think that we can, I get weary of feeling like we have to be in this comparison race or this rat race to like reach the most people on like a social media platform, when like people viewing our videos or liking our content isn't the same thing as people being, you know, isn't the same thing as people growing in maturity in Christ. So I don't know. Those are just some thoughts. That's there. Good. And Justin might be like, you guys still didn't answer my question, or I have these other things or something, but
yeah, you might feel like, wow, I'm such a good online minister because I have 800,000 followers. But what does that amount to? You know, does that amount to people who are looking more like Jesus and are following him in their life and are committed to their local church? Hope so, but you just can't know, you know, from a video and from people watching it.
Because it's the famous example, right, of Jesus being like, the crowds gathered around him. So he's like, hey, everybody, eat my flesh and drink my blood. And they're like, this is a hard teaching.
We're a weird teaching, man.
Like, and so just kind of this, you know, the truth of the gospel draws people in. Like it draws people, but Jesus, it seems like, is more concerned about like discipling people in the truth than like maintaining a large audience, you know? Yeah. So that's like, good. And I think it's hard to have those nuanced truth teaching conversations with a really large audience. Like you can't get in the weeds and have those personal, well, what about this and this with a huge group? Cause like for those that stuck around for the teaching of eat my flesh and drink my blood, like they got a teaching out of it that was,
Right.
oh, okay, that's hard, but I
That
understand.
makes more sense.
That makes more
yeah.
sense. So
We can handle communion.
yeah, we can handle that. So I
Kind
don't
of.
know. I just think like, yeah, the false illusion of like, just because I'm reaching, my voice is reaching a lot of people, doesn't mean that those people are actually being changed by it. I don't know. Those are just more the thoughts to unpack that. So,
Well, there's a researcher named Jonathan Haidt who has
Oh,
been
boy.
doing a lot of research on social media and mental health. And so his book, really fascinating, research based, it came out last year and it was one of the most popular and controversial books of the year, which is pretty fun. And so I got to teach it with parents at our church. We invited parents of babies all the way up to teenagers and to kind of just discuss the things that he's talking about in his research. So his thesis of his book is the play-based childhood that every human had throughout history, where your childhood is spent outside with other kids, playing, practicing conflict, and how to navigate situations and problem solve. Like the way that we're made to experience childhood playing throughout all of history has been replaced in the last 10 years or so by a phone-based childhood.
Mm.
And when he says phone-based childhood, he means that any screens, the iPad, the video games, the constant always-on devices in front of the kids, which is causing the rise in anxiety, depression, and mental illness among young people today. So we all work with Gen Z. So can you guys confirm super anxious generation, mental health crises, lots of that?
yes.
And more than before. And he, goes into, there's, I'm sure, different reasons, and people think, oh, Gen Z is just more open about their mental health struggles. But he says, no, like there is more diagnosed illnesses than there ever
Genuine
was before.
crisis. Yeah.
Yes, this is a real crisis. And the real cause, he's saying, is all the phone use and the social media use, and that they didn't get the time that they needed of play. And so he kind of has this, he breaks it down to two major issues. One, Gen Z was overprotected in the real world. So as kids, they were not allowed to go have unsupervised play with other kids, and they were underprotected in the virtual world. And so in his book, he has like a 13-year-old girl describe how she stumbled across pornography and didn't desire to see it at age 9 or 10. But like her parents had given her a tablet since she was like a baby, And so she just stumbled across it, had no idea. And at 13, she felt addicted and couldn't get out. And she was sad. Like, why didn't anybody protect me from this? I'm a kid, And so those are the two huge things that he says. There's all these dangers in the virtual world, and yet we parents have thought, oh man, the outside world is dangerous and scary, and you could get kidnapped if you play outside. So we need to have all these protections for you out there. We have this safetyism culture, he calls it, where we don't want anyone to get hurt, but then we just give them complete access, unfettered in the virtual world.
Yeah, just some more like historical mapping on that. Like the organization I work for, we opened our shelter in the mid 70s because there was like this one, there's a rise in street homelessness in youth, but two, there's all this new national attention on these like large like kidnapping cases and serial killers are like all over the news and stuff. Like the 70s and 80s, when our parents were like coming into the age of their own parenthood and stuff, they're being
Adulthood.
shaped by like these new images on local news channels and on national news of just like a really terrifying world that was different than what they grew up in. A news cycle dominated by random strangers who kill people out, and kidnappers who just snatch children and stuff like that. So just even like how parents in the 70s and 80s were shaped to view the world, and how that impacted the way that they parented in the 90s and early 2000s.
Exactly what he says in the book, Sam. He brings that up, that in the 90s, parenting became much more protective and much more intensive because of like this new distrust of neighbors and new fear brought on by the cable news and describing all these stories. But what he debunks the myth and shows that your kid is much more likely to come in contact with traffickers through time online than they are through going outside. They're not going to get scooped up by a white van statistically. They're going to have much more issues with the people that they're talking to on the phone that you have no idea about.
That's so, what a sad, genuine effort to protect turned into like a much more vulnerable.
Well, I've got a question for you guys. How old were you when your parents gave you freedom to walk alone to a friend's house or somewhere over a quarter mile away, or to go out with friends without supervision? Sam and I both grew up in Naples.
Yeah.
And David grew up in a small town, so I'm interested if that makes a difference. But Sam, go.
I had a pretty, I don't know how old I was. I was definitely in elementary school when I was like allowed to just go in my neighborhood wherever I wanted. And we had like a sidewalk, and there's it was definitely over a quarter mile to some of the friends' house, like some of the neighborhood kids' houses. And my mom literally had a bell that she would ring at our, like by our front door. So when the bell rang, we had to come home. So like you could hear it.
Aww.
Like,
that's so funny.
And so she still has that bell too, whatever. But I was pretty young.
And you hear it and you run over to her
and
house.
I hear it and I run home. It worked. But
for chicken nuggies.
So I grew up with the with some freedom to just like go and play with neighbors and stuff, and that felt like elementary. So I don't know, I'm like 10 or younger, I would say. I was running around.
And Height would say, praise God, you got in with the older generation and not with the younger generation.
Yeah.
You got what he says is developmentally appropriate and good for you to develop healthy skills. And look at you, you're a healthy person, huh?
You hear that, all you haters? I'm developmentally healthy.
He's
David,
responsible.
What was your life like in Hoosier time?
So it's funny. So we moved to Upland in like 2004, which I was in 4th grade. So kind of it was a big shift, and it was interesting. That's a pretty important time for a person. Is that like 4th, 5th grade,
8, 9.
But I remember, before that we lived in like a suburb, right? Like very like on a cul-de-sac. Every house looked the same.
The dream,
the
American dream.
A vinyl village.
Yes.
But it was one that was like still under construction, and I remember my parents were like, "Yeah, you can go play in that construction site." Like, so
I would say that's good.
We went over there. I remember like shortly after I got a new bike, I like tried taking it into like a this is a memory that came out of nowhere. I remember like probably 2nd grade, 3rd grade, I tried like mountain biking, basically, where I rode my bike down like what felt like a massive ravine, but it was just a retention pond, a dry retention pond.
Yes.
And then when we moved to Upland, my dad, I remember this, set me down and drew a map of Upland, and said
to give you your boundaries.
Yep, this is how far you can go.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and so it was.
Now, David, do you still stick to those boundaries?
Yes. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. Exactly.
My dad gave them to me.
Yeah.
Good. That's a good boy. That's a boy, David.
And yeah, it was the same thing. Like, I have to be back when the street lights come on or whatever. So, and I rode my bike or walked to elementary school most days. So, yeah, there you go.
Yeah. I mean, people younger than us did not have this experience in general. In general, across the country, kids are spending much more time in adult supervised activities, where kids are in after school programs, they're in academic enrichment. Like your high achieving parents think that they need to get their kids in all the structured activities to have like travel sports, to have Mandarin club. Like they need to learn all these things so they'll be an amazing prodigy or whatever. And because of that, they're getting a lot less time in free play with mixed age groups. And Haidt says that's the key here, the mixed age groups with just free play. Because in that time, you're practicing skills needed for real life. You're hitting a setback and you're having to figure out what to do. You're having risky fun, like where you're pushing your limits and recognizing like what is dangerous and what is something that I know that I can do. And he says that when kids grow up not doing that and instead being online all the time and having adults there all the time, they get really fragile and they feel really fearful that I couldn't do that. And if they haven't tried something before, they're not willing to try. And I see this with students all the time of like, oh, I couldn't call someone I don't know on the phone,
Totally.
you know, or I couldn't order at the counter at the fast food place.
Dang QR code menus.
Yeah, seriously.
You know, like there's just a real fear of things I've never tried before. Like this generation doesn't want to get their driver's license in general because it's like, well, why would I want to drive? Like, I don't think I could drive on the highway. Like, that's scary.
The amount of people
dangerous.
I know who won't drive on the interstate.
But like when you're a kid and you try out biking down the wall of the retention pond that you think is a giant ravine and you realize I can do that. Next thing you know, you're buying an old house and ripping out the carpet and restoring the floors yourself.
Yep.
Well, that's me. Oh.
Yeah. That's David.
So like how does that sit with you guys? Like thinking about how play gives us those opportunities to work out conflict, problem solving, risk taking.
Totally.
Like, what do you think?
Go ahead. I just was going to say, at the risk of sounding like old people who are like, yeah, back when we were kids. It's great. But
so right before I was working at Taylor, I was working at a K through 12 school, and I could see that in the kids, right? Like I could see some of the kids. I didn't have the terminology for it, so I just called it basic problem solving skills.
Missing.
Yes. And so, you know, kids would not like I would do lunch and recess duty, and kids would ask me to open their squeeze go thing. You know, like literally
the go squeeze things.
Yes.
Yeah.
Fruit applesauce pouch.
The thing that was literally designed for kids to be able to open.
It's the opposite of
did
child.
Did you open it or did you tell them to open it?
I said, "Oh, I'll sit with you and I'll let you open it."
I'll watch
you.
Yeah.
Right? Or like it would be like, "Mr. Neal, can you help me on the slide?" No, but I'll watch you go down the slide.
Yeah.
Right? And I think there's this idea of like they were afraid to take risks, and a lot of them, I think too, COVID really played into it, where even more fear was put into the parents at this time. And so a lot of them don't have the social skills that they would have with each other. That's where next year I'll have people who went through COVID in middle school here. But to me, I'm super interested in the like social dynamics on the people who were in like 4th, 5th, and 6th grade as adults, because I think that's some of the time when you learn social skills the most, because that's when the brain is more processing and developing, and you can have more complex conversations. And if, you know, in that time you're just speed running Minecraft and killing the Ender Dragon.
Yeah.
And you're not talking. Yeah.
And learning that trying things and failing at things is good. You know, like thinking back to like trying to build bike ramps to like do bike jumps as a kid. And you learned lessons that, that doesn't work. Like,
that's not strong enough.
That's not strong enough. And even though you might like fall down, like at the end of the day, you're okay. And learning that is so important, because Gen Z's in the workforce, you know, and there's some elements of like, I've come up against some of this, of almost like this fear of not knowing how to do something, or this fear of like not wanting to do something wrong. So there's like a fear of initiative, just out of, I don't think it's laziness. I think a lot of it is fear, because there's like I don't know. There's, just haven't had to work through how to recalibrate or how to get something wrong and then try again, how to get something wrong and try again. And, it's just a missing and I don't want to fault Gen Zers or be like, you guys are, I don't want to be the grumpy old person that's like, you should get it together.
That's
Or-
what this episode feels like to me.
No, but like recognizing how we got here is important for understanding how to like encourage people with, hey, I know you probably feel XYZ, so let's talk about that or something.
Well, think about too, our number one demographic is Gen Z of listeners. So my goal is not to like poo-poo on
totally.
And Height doesn't blame Gen Z. This wasn't their fault. This was how they were raised. If anything, it's Gen X and no, I'm kidding. But so it was just how they were raised. And he talks about 4 foundational reforms that are needed so that this changes. He wants people to grow up to be confident, competent young adults with lower anxiety. And so he says, unless we change these 4 things, like it's going to be Gen Z continued. Like, sometimes they're like breaking it up and saying, oh, after Gen Z is Gen Alpha. And he's like, I don't see any change in the kids that they're calling Gen Alpha because they're raised the exact same way.
Yeah.
Like the tablet in the face from toddlerhood is not working. And so he gives these 4 foundational reforms. His first, we'll talk through them. Let me know if you think any are like, wow, that would be tricky to implement. His first one is no smartphones before high school.
Mm-hmm.
So he says they're just not developed enough until high school to have a smartphone and have all the access to everything. And then 2, he says no social media before 16. It's not till you're 16 and you've had normal in-person human real interactions that are you ready for the kind of interactions that take place on social media with all the attention seeking and the measuring up and all of the way that it feeds you and trains you. And he talks a lot in the book about just like how social media and TikTok feeds are like the best brainwashing device in human history because you just watch things again and again and again and again. You think you're being entertained and yet you're just being trained on all this stuff and thinking what's good and letting your values be shaped by some nefarious algorithm that we don't know anything about. So he says, don't let him do it till 16. His third one is phone-free schools. That kids should not have their phones from the first bell to the end bell, including passing periods and lunch. So his fourth one is far more unsupervised play and childhood independence. He calls for kids to have increasing responsibility over time and to be able to go out and be kids and play with other kids their age and not have to always be in a programmed activity that's supervised and has a waiver signed and all of that. So he says those things, like, that takes collective action. That takes not just one family, but that takes an entire community. That takes entire school districts, whole states sometimes to implement that kind of stuff. So what do you guys think about those?
Yeah, I think you hit some of that at the end. Like, none of that works unless everybody's committed to it. You know, like you one individually, you have to be, like, no smartphones before 16 as an aspiring parent, whatever, like, I'm not going to say it's not hard, but like, if you make the commitment up front of like, this is what we're committing to, it's just easier to like, that's with anything in life. If you make the commitment that like, no, this is the discipline, we do this, we don't do this, you just got to be all in on it. It is like that. It does get hard, but like that clear boundary of what it is makes it easier. And when you have other people in your community, like it'd be so hard to tell your kid, don't bring your phone to school when everybody else has there. But when the whole school district says, no, this is what we're doing. And I'm sure, Noah, you're leading this at your church because you're encouraging parents and families to say, hey, if we do this together, it's a lot easier than just trying to do it on our own. Like, if it's not like, why do all these other kids get to do these things? But if we as a community get to say, no, this is what we're committing to. It really rubs in the face of the individualism that, we've talked about. Like, if you say, no, as a community, we're going to hold ourselves to these standards, like, and hold each other accountable to those things. So that's the first note for me. It's just like, it only works if you've got buy-in. Yeah. Really, like, the boulder only moves if we all push. Like we can't. It's gotta be this collective thing. So
Yeah, I've heard about schools that are implementing what he says here, a phone free all day. And I read this article about this school in Orlando where they have one of the staff on like one of those four-wheelers driving around the courtyard during lunch when all the kids are outside and just like looking for phones.
That's
And
amazing.
if he sees a phone, he like takes it and the person to the office and they have to lock it up and stuff like that. But so they've done serious enforcement. And then they also have put out games. Like they've put out ping pong. They've put up now 9 Square in the Air. Like
That's
they've
cool.
put out stuff for kids to do in the courtyard. And the students that are interviewed talked about how at the beginning of the year, how awful it was and how they like were always thinking about what they were missing on social media. And they were just really like, didn't know what to do without their phones. And by the end of the year, they like realized like how much their friendships had grown, how much they really enjoyed being together and playing without their phones, and like how they didn't feel distracted when they were together. And they started like implementing phone free hangouts in the rest of their lives, like at other times, like let's all put our phones away. And because they want to actually spend time together. They're
Yeah.
not hanging out when they're on the phones.
And that goes back to, I feel like that opening question. I just feel like even as the church, it's like, don't buy the lie that we need to be more online to like reach people. It's like, what if like online was part of the stuff that the thing that has a grip on our hearts and minds and souls that like we need to be freed from. Like, let's not like, totally, I don't want to say give ourselves over, but buy the lie that we have to do the online thing to do ministry or something. But I know that's a little bit of a backtrack.
I'm going to pull the grumpy version of this. Is I have tried this when I worked at a school, like I had mentioned before, and it was a no phone school. Okay. And it was fine. And then I took a week-long missions trip to Mayfield, Kentucky. And I said, the students could not use their phones on the trip. And you would have thought I said, I'm going to shoot your students. Like,
It was the parents.
The parents were furious at me.
Yeah.
They went to the board. They went to the principal. Like, I almost lost my job because of that. But I held my ground. And we ended up doing that. And some of the students said that was their favorite part of the trip, was that we didn't let them have their phones.
Yeah.
Crazy.
So it can be done. It is a nightmare to do. So.
Which is exactly what Haidt says. His biggest obstacle in especially the like letting kids go out and learn how to be kids unsupervised is parents' anxiety of letting a child out of sight. And you had parents upset about the phones. Like parents are complaining they want their kid to have their phone at school because what if there's an emergency? Very interesting. To wrap this up, the Atlanta Public Schools posted on Instagram today, and one of my church members sent it in our parents group chat that I'm in, even though I'm not a parent. And he said, this post made me irrationally angry this morning. It's the exact kind of things that the Anxious Generation book speaks about. So Atlanta Public Schools posted on Instagram today, never let your child walk anywhere alone, whether to the store, to a friend's house, or to the park. Wow. Never let your child play outside alone. Predators may cruise neighborhoods looking for unsupervised kids. Take turns with other parents in your neighborhood or enlist a trustworthy family member to help. If your child bikes, make sure they are always with 2 buddies.
Wow.
That's horrible.
So he screenshotted this, sent this to our church, and everyone's like, oh, I'm trying to do the opposite with my kids. Yeah. And so he sent the link. So then I clicked it and it says, sorry, this page cannot be found. And
like,
he said they took it down because there was so much backlash on the post.
That's crazy.
Soft. That is nuts. Is there an no? What do you? I mean, You're the only person that's read this book on this call, and I'm just like, as we wrap up, do you have what advice, or like what are some of the takeaways even for people listening, to parents and non-parents, because there's wisdom for everybody in this conversation. How do we staircase this to somewhere or something like that? Is there a way to do it?
He talks about managing your own phone use, managing your own social media use, like thinking if you're going to be a parent and you're going to be raising kids, like how much phone are you going to use around your kids? Like so many young kids, 3, 4, are saying to their parents, like, you're always on the phone. That's not good.
Yeah.
Or kids are learning from you that that's the way that they're supposed to spend their life, looking at a little screen. So manage your own life, look at yourself. I think just understanding this even kind of helps me go like, man, I'm so afraid of conflict. Maybe just growing up, like I just didn't have enough like working out conflict amongst myself with peers, or like anxieties around new things. Like, did I have opportunities to try stuff and fail, and letting us not make the same mistake with the next generation and give them opportunities to grow in responsibility, whether it's like our students in college or in Sam's programs or my middle and high school students, like they need the opportunity to take responsibility and fail. And that's how they grow into a competent adult. So we support, but doing it for them, constant supervision, it's just not serving people well. And so I really like how the book has these two pieces. It's the online portion, but then it's also just like the real world portion of learning how to live your life.
Well said. Yeah, I think it starts like managing your own. Start with you. I think my categories is still kind of at the I'm been thinking about that engagement question this whole time, and I think just like it could be easy to look at all the potentials for ministry on social media and be like, we need to be there. Like what, but what about all these things? But just to like ground ourselves and be like, well, are we inviting our neighbors to church with us? Or are we inviting the people we, actually see every day? Like those are the people that Jesus has said, like, these are your neighbors, like not just your social media neighbors, but like your actual physical neighbors. Start with them. And yeah, I think I have nothing to add to your big picture, how we train up the next generation. That's well said. So I'll just kind of put that little blurb there. David, you got anything?
I mean, it's something on my mind a lot since we have a son on the way.
Oh, yeah.
Big boy.
Wait, have you told the podcast that you're having John Wesley Neal?
That's not his name.
Could be.
That's a good theory though. So, we're thinking about this a lot of like, even how do we set up our house, right? Like, do we have TVs in the house? I don't know. Do we? We've been spending a lot of time landscaping and like making it so it's a yard that he'd want to play in. And like, we intentionally bought a house that backed up to the woods. So, he can go back there and play. And then, he can walk to school. So we've been pretty intentional. Like we want our kid, hopefully kids, to be able to, because Caitlin loves this book. Caitlin
read the book. We need to have her on.
Yeah. So it's been pretty formative as we're preparing for baby Neil.
Cute.
Coming by the time this podcast is released.
Maybe.
That's funny.
All right. Well, this has been real. It's been fun. It's been real fun. So I appreciate.
Thank you all for
go
joining
play.
us.
Go
outside and play.
Email us. We'll play with you. We'll meet up somewhere.
And let's have a play date amongst our listeners.
Yeah. Real good time. So
that sounds fun.
Yeah. You can email us at staircasepod@gmail.com. We'd love to interact with your thoughts and your questions. Stay anxious. Stay general. No. Oh, no. Don't be anxious. Be anxious for nothing. My fault. Opposite.
That's good.
There we go. All right. Good day and good morning, everyone.
Go play.
Go play.
Blessings.